Welcome, let us begin. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. The less you try to impress, the more impressive you are. In love, the paradox occurs that two beings become one and yet remain two. If the brain were so simple we could understand it, we would be so simple we couldn't. After you get what you want, you don't want it. Be careful, lest in casting out your demon, you exercise the best thing in you. The paradox of courage is that a man must be a little careless of his life, even in order to keep it. The whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. It sounds paradoxical to say the attainment of scientific truth has been affected to great extent by the help of scientific errors. By denying scientific principles, one may maintain any paradox. Between memory and reality there are awkward discrepancies. Blind nature will nearly always select the most probable, but man can let the most improbable become actual. The world is a globe. The further you sail, the closer to home you are. How wonderful that we have met with the paradox. Now we have some hope of making progress. When we destroy something created by man, we call it vandalism, but when we destroy something created by nature, we call it progress. It is paradoxical but profoundly true. An important principle of life that the most likely way to reach a goal is to be aiming not at that goal itself, but at some more ambitious goal beyond it. Time is the most undefinable yet paradoxical of things. The past is gone, the future is not come, and the present becomes the past. even while we attempt to define it. The hardest thing in photography is to create a simple image. Quiet people have the loudest minds. That government is best, which governs least. For evil to flourish, it only requires good men to do nothing. It is paradoxical that many educators and parents still differentiate between a time for learning and a time for play, without seeing the vital connection between them. The point of philosophy is to start with something so simple as not to seem worth starting, and to end with something so paradoxical that no one will believe it. Man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, unaware that this nature he's destroying is this God he's worshipping. We are faced with the paradoxical fact that education has become one of the chief obstacles to intelligence and freedom of thought. You may not be able to alter reality, but you can alter your attitude towards it, and this paradoxically alters reality. Try it and see. He who takes offense when no offense is intended is a fool, and he who takes offense when offense is intended is a greater fool. It's a paradox that every dictator has climbed to power on the ladder of free speech. Immediately on attaining power, each dictator has suppressed all free speech, except his own. The paradox of education is precisely this, that as one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine the society in which he is being educated. Sometimes I am confused by what I think is really obvious, but what I think is really obvious obviously isn't obvious. To know that we know what we know, and to know that we do not know what we do not know, that is true knowledge. Though we talk peace, we wage war. Sometimes we even wage war in the name of peace. Does that seem paradoxical? Well, war is not afraid of paradoxes. In the creation of comedy, it is paradoxical that tragedy stimulates the spirit of ridicule, because ridicule, I suppose, is an attitude of defiance. We must laugh in the face of our helplessness against the forces of nature, or go insane. Thank you for your time. Stay strong.